Now what I am going to do is how you can get information, more information other than the energy levels of various bands only along certain contours in the K space is what I am going to be discussing in this particular lecture. So what we have is, I am looking at a two dimensional system. In a two dimensional system, we have nx atoms along x axis and ny atoms along y axis. We will have a total of nx ny atoms. So, if we have a total of nx ny atoms, number of atomic orbitals of say S type will be nx and y, and so also number of molecular orbitals of sigma S type, sigma type are also nx and y. And what we are actually looking at, when you are looking at a crystal, nx and ny are of the order of Avogadro numbers, or at least nx is of the order of 10 to the power 8 and ny is also of the order of 10 to the power 8, assuming that you have got 1 mole of the solid, which is actually 10 to the power 24 atoms roughly, in which case along each axis you have 10 to the power 8 atoms. So altogether you have about 10 to the power 16 atoms in 2D. So if you have 10 to the power 16 atoms, then we have 10 to the power 16 avos and 10 to the power 16 mvos, and for each orbital we have 10 to the power 16 k states, 10 to the power 8 k states along x and 10 to the power 8 k states along y. So for every value of ky you have 10 to the power 8 x states, there are 10 to the power 8 ky values, so you have total of 10 to the power 16 k points to work with, which means that if I am looking at this my two dimensional lattice, okay. So I have kx and then ky, if I am looking at my two dimensional lattice, then I will have a whole bunch of points in my Brillouin zone. The allowed k values within, this is pi by a, this is minus pi by a, and say this is pi by b, and this is minus pi by b. So you have to find out the energy levels at each point. Now even granted that you find out the energy level at every one of these points, what are you going to do with those numbers? You have to have some kind of physical appeal or physical appreciation of these numbers. So just getting these numbers is not enough. So what people usually do is put a grid in the Brillouin zone, say a 100 by 100 grid, let us say 100 by 100 grid, and calculate say about 10,000 eigenvalues per band, and even that is also okay, but you cannot really look at all these 10,000 eigenvalues because that is a very large number, and particularly if you go to a 3 dimensional system with kx, ky, kz all the 3, then you will have a million eigenvalues, and how are you going to find out what happens to the energy levels at different k points? Well, this is in 2D, and in 3D you can have up to the 10 to the power 6 eigenvalues that you compute. Can be computed, let us say about that. Okay. Now after having obtained so many eigenvalues, what are we going to do? Because you cannot, there is no way of plotting, because you have to go for a 3-dimensional plot, because what you will require is something like, even for the 2-dimensional lattice you will have kx, sorry, this is ky, this is kx and energy, and you will have these surfaces in 3 dimensions, and it is going to be really difficult to plot these things and appreciate it, because getting 3-dimensional plots in 2D is rather difficult to understand. So what people have been doing is to deal with a quantity called density of states. So this density of states is per unit energy at a given energy, okay. That is number of eigenvalues in an energy range E and E plus dE at specified energies. That is, I will calculate d of E, which tells me how many energy levels are there between E and E plus d. D is very much smaller compared to the range of E, the energy it can take. So because of that, it will become a function of the energy. So d of E I am going to find out in order to find out the nature, or I want to find out how many states are there at every energy. This is really important for the following reason. That is, if we look at energy dispersions, energy band or energy dispersion curves, along contours, we cannot infer about overlap of bands, or band gaps definitively. That means if I am looking at the 2px and the 2pz band, let us assume in the case of the p orbitals in the 2-dimensional lattice, then it may appear like the 2pz band is well separated from the 2px and 2py bands only along the 0 to rather gamma point to x point to delta point, but they may not be so well separated when you actually go to a general k point. For example, if you go to a general k point corresponding to k is equal to 0.6 times pi by a and kx, and then ky equal to some 0.28 pi by a, then you will not be able to say that at that particular point the pz band is lower in energy or higher in energy compared to px or py bands, okay. So this particular for this particular reason you cannot really say whether the bands are overlapping or whether there is a band gap, and whether the system is going to be an overlap metal or the system is going to be a semiconductor or insulator. Because see, for example, if you are looking at the case of say something like calcium, it has 3s and 3p. So the electron configuration in this case is 3s2, 3p6, 2p6 3s2, because it is a 3s2, it is a alkaline earth metal. So it will be 3p6 4s2. I am sorry, I should have been prepared for this. 3p6 4s2. So it appears like it should be an insulator, because 4s band will be filled, because the 4s is the actual valence shell, and 4s band will be filled, and you must say it is an insulator, but fact is it is a metal. Why is it a metal? It is because the 4p band overlaps with the 4s band. Because the 4p band overlaps with the 4s band, there will be a partial occupation of the 4p band and a partial occupation of the 4s band, and so you are going to be having a partly filled bands, and because of that it will be a metal. This would never be possible to conclusively prove if you are only doing the calculations along specified directions in the Brillouin zone. You have to do a density of states calculation, which actually takes into account the how many energy levels are there in a particular energy range, and then you fill in the electrons according to that. Now let me see, what we really require is d of E needs to be calculated. In order to calculate d of E, what we require are constant energy surfaces in K space. So, what do you mean by constant energy surface? We know that energy is a function of k vector, or energy is a function of kx, ky and kz, okay. And we want to find out d of E between energies E naught, d of E naught let me call it, and E naught plus dE or delta E, whatever you want to call, okay. So, how can I calculate this quantity? To calculate this quantity, I must construct constant energy surfaces, construct constant energy surfaces in K space. For example, it is very easy to do if you know what are free electrons. I will come to that one at a later point when I will talk about how the physicists approach the energy band theory, but right now let me assume that you have in the kx, ky and kz space, you have some constant energy surface which corresponds to energy E naught, and another constant energy surface that corresponds to an energy E naught plus delta E. So, now how do I find out how many energy levels lie in this region? To find out how many states are there between E naught and E naught plus delta E, we have to calculate, we have to find the volume of the shell between these two surfaces. So, the shell that I am talking about is the following. Let me mark it out in green. So, this is the shell. So, if I have to find out what the volume of the shell is, then what I really have to do is I have to integrate the volume of the shell is given by integral ds, which is some surface area element on the constant energy surface. ds is the surface area element on the constant energy surface, ds times dk perpendicular, that is the perpendicular distance between the two shells, into dk perpendicular, which is the perpendicular distance in k space between the two shells. Okay, so for this, we can think of E naught. E is a function of k, so I can write down E naught plus delta E is equal to E naught plus grad k E times delta k. Okay. This is just a Taylor series expansion in 3-dimensional things to the nearest to first order. So, or in other words, I can say that delta k perpendicular is equal to delta E divided by grad k E. So, this is actually grad k E, and it is a perpendicular distance because the gradient of a function is always perpendicular to the family of surfaces on which the function is a constant. Okay. So, this is something that you can actually see in this in vector calculus. So, what you have is this quantity, so that I will have the total volume in k space between E naught and E naught plus delta E surfaces. Let me call it, say, this volume as is a volume in k space. So, let me call it Vk, volume in k space. Okay. So, this is equal to integral ds dk perpendicular is equal to integral ds upon grad k E times delta E. Okay. So, now what I need to do is that how many states are in the volume element V or in the volume Vk. Let me not use a script because it will get confused with velocity. Volume V of k. Okay. How many states are in the volume Vk? So, to find out this one, see, every allowed, because crystals are finite, right. So, Nx is finite, Ny is finite, Nz is finite. So, the values that Kx, Ky and Kz can take are in steps of 2 pi times Nx A, 2 pi times Nya, 2 pi times Nza is the steps in which Kx, Ky and Kz can be incremented. You remember all that about the values that Kx can take based on the single valuedness and so on and so forth. So, which means that in a volume equal to 2 pi cubed divided by nx ny nz times a cubed. I am sorry, I used actually for simplicity I have used a cubic lattice. If you are dealing with 2 dimensions, it will become 4 pi squared by nx times ny times a squared, or in 1 dimension it will just be 2 pi divided by nx times a. So, you know that every value of k is incremented in 2 pi by na times. Okay. So, that is what we, from that we know this. Okay. So, in a volume equal to in a volume dV equal to 2 pi cube by nx ny nz a cube, we have one state, okay, or 2 electrons can be filled in one state, one of upspin and one of downspin. So, 2 electrons in each case state and this thing volume in k space per electron is equal to 8 pi cubed by n times gamma. Gamma is a volume of the unit cell, divided by 2 to take care of the spin of the 2 electrons up and down. Or I can say that if you give me in volume V the number of states with energy in the range E and E plus dE, E naught and E naught plus dE is actually V divided by V per state, that is equal to 4 pi cubed divided by n omega times delta E times integral ds, which is a surface area element, divided by grad k E. Okay. The reason why I put the modulus of this grad k is because it is a vector, otherwise you can't have a scalar coming out of it. Okay. So, what we have is the density of states d of E, therefore, E naught or density of states in general for any at any energy E is given by d of E is equal to 4 pi cubed upon n omega times integral ds upon modulus grad k E. I think I made a mistake in terms of taking the volume and this thing, the ratio. So, let me just correct it a little bit, because it is not this quantity, it is actually the following. It is given by V by 8 pi cubed, that means n gamma by 4 pi cubed. So, the otherwise the units won't be right. N omega by 4 pi cubed times ds divided by grad k E. So, this is the density of states in general. So, what you will do is that we will obtain d of E for every band. So, that way we know how many states are there at energy E, how many states are there at energy E plus D, how many states are at higher energies, and so on and so forth. So, another way of actually drawing the energy band picture is by plotting density of states. This gives you a little more information than the chemist picture of actually just drawing one horizontal line on top corresponding to the top of the band, horizontal line at the bottom correspond to the bottom of the band and a wiggly line in between them. Instead of that, what we have is a density of states which probably will go like this one. Okay. So, well, in this case, while writing the density of states, what I have done is I have a few inflection points. So, for example, at this point you will not be able to differentiate the curve, neither at this point. So, there seem to be singularities, and the singularities come about because when delta Ke goes to 0, see, E is a smooth periodic function of K. Okay, so, for example, if I draw it, I will have pi by a, 2 pi by a, 3 pi by a, etc., and here minus pi by a, minus 2 pi by a, minus 3 pi by a, and so forth. So, if I draw in the simple one dimensional case, what you have is the energy bands will be going like this. Okay. So, it is although of course, the linearly independent states will only are confined to pi by a to minus pi by a, there is nothing that prevents you from actually drawing energy as a function of K for all values of K from minus infinity to plus infinity for the 1s band. So, if you do that, it is a periodic function. Because it is a periodic function, then grad K of E will be 0 at some points, because you know, at least in one dimensional case we have the Rolle's theorem in calculus, which says that if you have a periodic function in a particular interval, then the derivative of the function is going to vanish at least at one point. Okay. So, I think that is the Rolle's theorem, and what we have is just a generalization. So, del Ke will be 0 at one of these points, and if del Ke is 0, the integrand in d of E will be singular, it will blow up. But even if the integrand blows up, the integration can still be done but the blowing up of the integrand is reflected as a singularity in the d of E versus E curve, and this singularity has a particular name, but d of E will have a singularity. Which means you cannot actually differentiate d of E at that point in the energy space. So, these singularities are called Van Hove singularities. And one knows what kind of singularities exist at in 2 dimensions or in 3 dimensions. So, you know the number of singularities that can exist, and you also know the type of singularities that have to exist and what happens at the band edges. For example, it is known that the singularities at band edges should be something like this. So, it should go to 0 on one side, and it should go up like this at the band beginning, and at a band ending it goes like this. This is the way it goes at the band ending. and you could be having saddle points in between, so that you will have something going like this. Okay. So, you will have two singularities in the middle and two singularities at the edges, and it is always the case that at the band beginning and at the band end the singularity is such that the density of states has to vanish. So, the density of states has to vanish at the edges of the band. Okay. So, now yeah. So, what I am going to do in the next lecture is show you how this density of states is actually playing a part many a times in determining the structures of some solid state systems, for example alloys. So, I will introduce you to the concept of what are Hume-Rothery alloys and how you can rationalize the phase transitions or the different structures that you have for different compositions in these Hume-Rothery alloys based on what is called the electron atom ratio, and the base of that lies in understanding the density of states of various systems. So, I will talk about it in my next lecture, and I will stop at this point and we will meet again. Thank you.